Jim and Pat did several years of work under the radar, in my mind. I don't say it was below the radar, but it was below my radar for the most part. I actually did meet Jim and Pat, I think even pre-COVID. And I said, you know what, you can count me in, I'll help you a little bit, somehow, some way. And they've done a lot of work. Honestly, over the last year or two, I said, well, we're kind of, potential ownership group could be maybe this large, and we're trying to narrow it down, and can you do more or whatever else? And honestly, for me, just in the last 3 to 4 months, when Jim said, look, I think I've got the baseball stadium financing, private side, pretty well in good shape. I've got a purchase or expansion debt financing. They now allow some private equity into the ownership stack. We'll need X amount for the ownership group. If you could see your way clear to do this, you could be the lead investor. And I said, I can do that. So in that regard, that probably got us in the game. Since then, we've begun our outreaches to Major League Baseball. We're not oblivious to what's happening in the rest of the world, but we have tried to focus on being ready, getting everything ready to go to qualify for a franchise, should one become available, as if they couldn't get a stadium deal, as an example, or an expansion team, which we know that baseball is going to do. So I don't know if that's the second inning. We still do need to get the public-private aspect at least to some sort of a, I don't know if the word is a handshake or an agreement in principle, or have an idea that yes, we would support you. But to be clear, we have not yet given the mayor or the commissioners any of the details or the necessary financials that they need to look at. And so they're not necessarily behind, but as we've worked that up, we're close to having that ready to go. And so we've reached out. Hopefully meetings will occur in the upcoming few weeks, such that we could get an indication from them, and they could really get the story down in their own minds. And then what I do think is happening is that I think in the next few weeks, certainly in the next couple of months, baseball really wants an answer on what's happening in Tampa Bay. Again, that's a known issue. Their stadium or lack of is a problem. And I think, until they get that solved, they can't do the 2 expansions, and they want to do that. And this commissioner wants to get that done. That's a part of his legacy. And so, we could be, well, it's hard to say. We're in the middle of the game. I'll say it that way. And it's happening now. And we're doing all we can do, I think.
At least up at home plate, middle of the game.
I think so.
A lot on the line.
I think so. Yes, it is. And it's only been, it seems like, 6 weeks since I call it, was outed as the majority owner or something like that, majority investor, whatever you want to call that. We all have day jobs, and we're honored and blessed to be in this position, but we would not be doing this if we weren't serious and believe that there was a very good chance that we can pull this off. And so we're doing this because we believe that it's possible, and we believe that when the public side, I'll say it that way, learns what we know and learns what we have and has available and so forth, that they can at least get to, man, if you can get that done, you can count on me to not disqualify your efforts based on what the public can do.
One question about that with like Orange County, I know a lot of the conversation today was about getting that buy-in and getting that locked in. And you mentioned we have to get that information to the county for them to be able to. Is it more so we needed to have these conversations behind the scenes before we could present this to the Orange County? We needed to crunch the numbers, the delay in getting that to them.
Well, the Dreamers, as an example, they've had to get their own equity stack in place. That'd be, myself and John Morgan predominantly, but there's going to be other investors. They had to get the stadium financing aspect done. Jim Snorf has done that amazingly well. That's in place, and that's the big thing. In other words, you have nothing until you have that. And now then, the next logical thing is to pivot and make sure we've got enough of exactly what we need to be able to go, as an example, to the mayor's office or to the commissioners and say, listen, this is us, this is who we are, there's a real chance of this. We don't need you to give us money in advance. We don't need you necessarily to tell us in advance exactly what all you may do, but Major League Baseball, in order to take us that last level of seriousness, is going to need to know that if we're awarded a franchise or we're able to purchase a franchise, that the stadium deal will include a public-private partnership, because that's an MLB requirement, not necessarily the owner's requirement. I'm cautiously optimistic, having never spoken with the mayor, having never met with the mayor, but I think in the next few weeks we will have the chance to speak to him. We will have a chance to show him what we have and what we know that is going on. And I think I'm optimistic. I'm cautiously optimistic that we will be able to explain to him, show to him that this would be a once-in-a-lifetime positive opportunity.
I know that there are like two timelines going on. So I know we have the conversations in Tampa, and then the timeline for speaking with county leaders. When would you like that?
Well, we want to get that. We want to. It's a high priority now to speak with the commissioners and the mayor and so forth. So I would anticipate that in the next 1, 2, 3 weeks that opportunity will come. I anticipate when people have started to reach out to them that they'll take the call and they'll invite us in to at least talk to us. I believe that to be the case.
But there's no like MLB deadline.
Well, you could always say we wish it was last year, but I'm trying to be humorous there. But we're still we perceive to be in a good place, and so as long as they take the meeting, listen to what we do, hopefully they can, within a reasonable amount of time, come up with some level of like, you know what, if you can get all this stuff done, and somebody calls me and says, I'm pretending for a moment that I'm the mayor or commissioner, that we'll get a baseball team in Orlando, provided that the public aspect gets resolved. They go, you can count on me. We'll do what it takes to not be the reason we don't get a baseball team.
One more question baseball, then one question background.
Yeah.
I know we were saying we have three options. We have what's going on in Tampa.
Yeah.
We have the expansion option. We
Yeah.
have another team. I know, I believe in the past you may have spoken about Chicago, but I know they have some things going on. What is best case scenario for you? Would it be that we get Tampa? Would it be that we wait on expansion? Would it be another team from somewhere else, or you're just like, whatever God says?
I'm for whatever God says. I mean that sincerely. None of it is directly within our control. It's unusual to me in the business world that it's no, you can just step up and pay the price or not, but it's not as simple as that. As in my reasonably knowledgeable explanation or understanding of how that works, and again, we only talk about Tampa Bay because they are the only current known baseball franchise that does not have a stadium deal, and we know they had one and it fell apart. So that's just common knowledge, and so it'd be quote unquote obvious that they could be a potential opportunity for this. But we have not had any direct conversations. We're trying to be professional about it, but we're getting ready. But then what we do know is one way or the other, if they resolve that in some way in the near term, then Major League Baseball is going to award 2 franchises, and we think that Orlando has the best market in all of Florida. 80 million people come here to visit. That's nearly 2 million people a week. I was sharing in the other room, but think about it's April, and you've got 3 games in a row with Boston, 3 days in a row with the Yankees, and then the Mets come to town, or Phillies come to town, or somebody else Detroit comes to town. Think how many people from those cities are going to come down to Orlando, arrange a vacation. They're going to go to one of the theme parks and have a great time all day, and then at 6:30 at night they're going to be at the ballpark. I'm very confident that that's going to happen. I hope we have enough local fans to outshout the visitors.
Last question,
Yeah.
background.
Yeah.
When I grow up, I would love to have a Krispy Kreme. Did you dream of having like a baseball team when you were younger? Like, was this on the vision board? How did this?
Well, as one of millions of 12-year-olds, we want to play in the major. Can't decide whether we're in the major leagues or NBA. I just couldn't decide. And then there's the Wonder Bread commercial where by age 12 you reach 90% of your adult height. And I'm going, I'm pretty good at math, and 90% of 5 feet is not likely to qualify me for the NBA. And so, I love the sport, played the sport a little bit into adulthood. And you'd have a fantasy that you'd like to own a team. I had a fantasy, boy, would I love to have 1% of the Cardinals or something someday. And I thought maybe someday I could get 1%. But this is obviously a whole different deal, different level. But I'm older now, I know that no way. But Heartland, the company that I founded, has grown, and we've been blessed to have this as an opportunity. And I've talked it over with my family, and in some ways I'd be spending my children's inheritance too. But if we did that in a baseball franchise, I think we all realized that we'd love to do it, and we're excited to do it.
Played into adulthood?
Well, I played just 1 year of college baseball, and then I played fast pitch softball up until I think 29, which fast pitch softball is not Major League Baseball, but the men can throw it pretty hard from 46, and the ball does go up and down, and it's harder to hit softball than it is baseball.